Welcome to Tales from Western New York. This year is our presidential race.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, there's Donald Trump, and he ran against 12 other people and beat them all out. On the other hand, we got Hillary Clinton, who just ran with, I don't know who that third guy, who's that third guy that was there?
Something McDonald.
Was it McDonald? Ronald McDonald? There probably was in this presidential race.
Maybe.
And then there was Bernie Sanders. Now, half the college people wanted this Bernie Sanders guy.
It was more than half the college people. It was more the majority of the country, but the problem is that Hillary has all of the super PACs in her back pocket.
So well, yes.
She bought her way to the Democratic nomination. So now we got Trump versus Hillary Clinton.
Yes. Well, let's talk about this Bernie Sanders guy for a little bit first. The problem with Bernie Sanders, the reason why I think he didn't get it, because he wanted to give the world away for free. He told the college kids he was going to give them free college, which these college kids didn't realize that people's regular taxes, people like me and you that work, was going to pay for their college.
I mean, yes and no. I don't think he was trying to give the world away for free. I think he was trying to make it easier for people to actually get a college education. A large majority of the country, when they finish high school, don't go to college for reasons like they can't afford it. So if you offer them an alternative or cheaper college, or in some cases maybe free college, I don't think every school was giving away college for free, but in some cases you're going to have the option of free college. That might make it a little bit more of an incentive to go, or maybe pursue that career you always wanted. Maybe you wanted to be an engineer, but you couldn't afford to go to engineering school, or you want a specific trade, but you couldn't afford to go to some kind of trade school, whatever that may be. I don't know. I don't think that it was necessarily everything for free, but he definitely wanted to help out, and it would have cost taxpayers some money for sure. But
now on the Hillary Clinton thing, with her, I think it's the majority of all the women that are voting for her. Yes, some men are coming out for her on her party and everything, but I think with her, it's majority of the women coming out and not even listening to what she's really about. I'm going to say some negative stuff about her right now. The negative that's got me from being a previous military person, that she let those people in Benghazi die. It wasn't just her, it was the Obama and that side, but they did nothing. They knew stuff was going to happen in that region. They should have pulled out those people from Benghazi. Then the other thing was the email files she had, that she should have not have had her own private server, and that's emails that could have been hacked. And she went back to her husband after he was a known cheater, and that she could, well, I don't say she condoned the raping, but he used his political power to abuse these women while he was a president of the United States. Your views on Hillary Clinton, Mick?
when she was a senator for New York State, she helped, I mean, it took more than just her, but helped raise taxes in New York State. A lot of the cigarette taxes came from her. A lot of the lost jobs in New York State came from her. She claims that she's all about jobs and trying to change the country for the better. She's almost got a similar speech that, to what Barack Obama, his campaign was all about, changing the country. But I don't see it happening. I see her raising taxes. I see her cutting jobs. I see her working with large corporations because she's basically got the super PACs in her back pocket, which drives me crazy, because you don't want a politician, no matter who they are, no matter what they stand for, no matter what they say they're going to do for this country, you don't want them with big corporations in their back pocket, because all that means is that they're going to keep getting money from these big corporations as long as these big corporations keep basically benefiting from her being in office, regardless if that's a Senate office or a seat in Congress or if she decides to, or if people of this country decide to actually vote her in as president, which I'm not opposed to a woman president, and I'm not opposed to, people who want to vote for her, but I don't see her as the best candidate. On the flip side of things, I don't see Trump as the best candidate, but I guess if you've got to weigh your options, you might as well vote for Ronald McDonald. It's kind of...
Ronald McDonald's not going.
Well, maybe Lewis Black would like to run this year instead, because we need a third person since Bernie Sanders has dropped out to actually be a decent political candidate, to actually be a good president for this country, because Hillary won't do it, and I don't think Trump would either.
The other thing about Hillary Clinton, like you were talking about jobs, she said she did a lot for New York, but I didn't see anything.
No.
They talk about little stuff she's done, but it was more of a group effort. It wasn't just her.
Right.
But she's always throwing out, well, I did this. No, it was you and a group.
Right. And only certain things. It was very small percentages of things. I mean, they even claimed that her and Cuomo and all these other people got involved with like the $1 billion to Buffalo. That was originally started by her campaign, supposedly. But, I mean, almost immediately right off the bat, most of that money went to executives or to politicians, and nothing came to Buffalo. I don't think anything other than some advertisement in New York City that says, go visit Buffalo, did she actually do anything to benefit the city whatsoever. Honestly, not that it's entirely him. A lot of it is Byron Brown, but a lot of Buffalo's growth lately has been Terry Pagula. It has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton and what she supposedly did for this state. She's done nothing, as far as I can tell. She's done nothing for this state but raise taxes and ruin jobs. So I see no reason why she would be a great candidate for president. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. Let a woman run for president. Let a woman get elected. I don't care if a woman gets elected every single time. But what bothers me is that what I would like to see instead of her is a viable candidate, somebody who's actually worthwhile for office, man or woman or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just make sure they're worthwhile. Make sure they're actually going to benefit this country. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to,
make America great again.
No, not necessarily that. But we're trying to make this country, keep it the way it is. Keep it a superpower. Keep it a good economy. Keep it one of the wealthiest nations in the world.
Now let's talk about Mr. Trump.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about.
I know it's not
Trump.
your favorite subject.
No.
But all right, let's go back to when first Mr. Trump started to run. He ran with 12 other candidates. He ran with the Mr. Donut himself, Mr. Krispy Kreme, Mr. that governor from New Jersey,
Chris Christie. Yeah.
The guy's huge as a donut. He did a blockade, so that was easy to get rid of that idiot.
Mm.
Did Anthony Weiner run too?
I honestly don't know. He might have.
That was another joke.
Mark Huckabee. I mean, Mark Huckabee's another joke. He's a racist, sexist, homophobic, disgusting human being. What basically would create some kind of Christian law all over the country. Same with Ted Cruz. I mean, that's kind of a joke.
So Mr. Trump beat out 12 other candidates that were worse than him. So it was like
essentially,
it was basically like all the dark Sith lords out there, except for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick that you hate also. But we'll get into sports another time.
Yeah, I think we need to.
But Mr. Trump did beat these people. The one thing I liked about Trump that he was running underneath his own money. Yeah, a lot of people don't like him because he's very outspoken and not politically correct, but I think that's what has turned him on to a lot of people, that he's not politically correct. And he wasn't in the back pocket of many people. But as Mick says, he doesn't like that he's not politically correct, that he should be more politically correct.
Well, yeah, I don't think that he should come right out and say things like all Muslims are bad, or just all Mexicans are bad. This, I mean, just to be, just to be fair, put everything on even ground. He's got companies in Mexico. He's got companies in Japan. He talks about how he wants these people out of this country, and I know he's talking about, and again, keeping everything fair. I know he's talking about the illegals, regardless as to whatever country you came from. If you're illegally here, then you don't belong here. You should get a visa. You should get some kind of work visa or school visa. You should get some kind of documentation to say that you are trying to at least become a U.S. citizen before you start, creating problems or whatever the case is. Maybe taking other people's jobs. That's not always the case, but you should try to become a legal citizen before entering this country or contributing to this country in any kind of way, whether you're working or going to school or whatever you're doing. But I don't agree with a lot of what he says, because a lot of it is just stereotyping or taking a specific group of people and just, well, it's all Muslims or it's all Mexicans or it's all this group or that group. I don't agree with that. I believe there are a lot of Muslims that are in this country that are here legally, that work and contribute and pay taxes just like the rest of us. And I believe there are a lot of Mexicans who are here legally who contribute, who pay their taxes just like the rest of us. But I can see where he's coming from, but he's got to be a lot more politically correct about it. If there are some Muslims in this country or Mexicans in this country or Japanese or Chinese or whatever, any kind of Europeans in this country that are here illegally and causing a whole lot of chaos, whether that be violence or disruption or just taking other people's jobs, who because they're going to take money under the table because they're here illegally. Well, that's not right. But to stereotype, I think, is what my biggest problem with him is.
Well, I do think we should do a good background check of anybody that wants to come here, because you could be letting a lot of people in here that have views that aren't, I'm not saying American views, but I'm just saying where they become radicalized because they're not like us, because they can't have their wives want to drive and they want to beat them up like that. There was a guy who didn't want his wife doing anything. He ran a TV station there and beheaded the wife and thought he could get away with it because you're able to do it in his own country.
Right.
But we do need to have a good thing. And the one thing I will say is, if you see something, you hear something, report it. I don't care what people are saying. Like this Orlando shooting that just happened.
Oh, right, yeah.
I do believe that if you did have a bouncer that had a gun there, he might have been able to stop this guy.
Well, maybe, yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody had to be armed to the teeth, but if you did have somebody with a gun, they probably could have stopped this guy. And the AR-15, yes, it should be banned. No one needs an AR-15. You could do the same harm with the regular pistol, and that's all you need.
Pistol, a rifle, a shotgun, anything like that. And most of that is for self-defense, home defense, or in a lot of cases, especially with rifles, they're meant for hunting. And hunting for sport is perfectly fine. It's kind of an American tradition. I mean, even going back to when people use crossbows or bow and arrow, even as simple as a bow and arrow. So I agree that you should have guns, but I agree with Joe when he says an AR-15 is that's excessive. There's no reason for that.
I do believe in the right to bear arms, but an AR-15 is too much.
Yeah, that's just excessive. There's no reason for it.
Thankfully, this guy, being that he was ISIS and everything, that he didn't use a bomb or something. It was just it was guns, but it could have been a lot worse. Right. But going back on Donald Trump, do I think we're going to build a wall like he wants to? No, because that'd be astronomically too expensive, and Mexico would definitely never pay like he says. But
yeah, no, that's just to think.
Do other countries do have walls? Yes, Mexico, for one that complained about it, they have they have their own fence along the South America.
Yeah,
you're able to get a train through, and that's where most people come in to bypass to get up here. But they have their own fence. Other countries do.
Even the U.S. has a fence along the border. A lot of people don't even realize that. But because of, it's not a brick wall like Trump wants, a huge, 10-story whatever monstrosity. But there is a fence that runs along the border. George W. Bush initiated that. I mean, this is something that has been built for a very long time.
Yeah, but that's only certain parts, and they're able to get the drugs over. I have a friend that's in the Border Patrol, and she has many friends that have been killed.
Well, yeah, but it's something. I mean, a lot of the problems are. I mean, they could climb over it, they could throw a rope over it, they could dig a hole or whatever. But I think the biggest issue is that there's already a wall there, and he wants to build a fence there, and he wants to build something else. You can't stop everything, no matter what you claim. So I think building a wall would just be asinine, honestly.
But we're not telling you who to. We're not telling you who to vote for, but we're just telling you our views. Out of less of all evils, it's always going to be Donald Trump for me. For Mick, if Bernie Sanders was to go independent, I think you would probably go Bernie.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I don't really support either of them 100%. I mean, probably not even 50% in some cases. But again, it's like you said, it's who you want to vote for. Just take our opinions with a grain of salt. But that's what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about giving you some insight from our point of view, and to maybe help you make a better educated opinion, or just create your own.
Now, you can't always go by what other people in the political party, because both parties will pull up stuff. Trump will pull stuff up on Clinton and about the whole rape thing, and then you'll hear Hillary bring stuff up on Trump about his wife and how he's ran businesses. Yes, has he run businesses that have filed for Chapter 11 and stuff? Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But they're business aspects, so he's personally not, but his business has.
Right.
But that will happen. He's a smart man in some ways. I've always said, like, my first time I ever voted was for Ross Perot. And I thought that guy would have ran us like a business, and we might have been somewhat out of debt. When you're hearing the word $7 trillion in debt that we owe other countries, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Who did you vote for your first presidency?
We did one in school before I was old enough to vote, and I voted for Bill Clinton. But then when it was actually time for my own personal voting, I honestly don't know. I probably voted for Bush. But that was before I really got any kind of information on anything. And I also registered Republican originally because my father was registered Republican for a while, and I didn't know any better, so I went off of what he did. And that's a lot of what this comes down to too, is that maybe your family is all Republicans or Democrats, or maybe your family's all independents. A lot of it isn't necessarily what you've heard on TV, but what your family's telling you or what your friends are telling you. So take their opinion, take our opinion, kind of run with that however you want to, but
vote for the way you want to.
Vote the way you want to.
Don't have anybody pressure you either. It's
No.
the way you want and what you feel.
Right.
Because if you go by what everybody wants, you're catering to the mass when you should be catering to yourself.
Right.
Being independent.
What do you feel? What do you feel is the best way to, keep your job the way you like it, or keep things the way you like and keep taxes low, or whatever whatever you feel is the best way to live your life, and however you have to vote to keep it that way, then do that. Do it for yourself. Do it
like
for...
me and Mick are good friends. We're going to vote differently, but it ain't
Yeah.
going to stop us from being friends. It's just the way we feel politically and our
Right.
views.
Right, exactly.
But this is Tales from Western New York. Our political views. Hillary Clinton. She might be a man, so she could be really Bill Clinton in disguise again, going for a third term.
Wouldn't that be interesting to have the first man, not a first lady?
Oh, but he's already
Something
been in
to think
that
about.
chair with a cigar.
That's true.
Maybe she'll do the vice versa.
Maybe she'll sit in the chair with a cigar.
Then we got Trump. And we don't know. We could still have an independent run that don't like the views of these people.
It's true. Could still have somebody pop their head in as a third party. So
We shall see.
yeah,
But today's June the
22nd.
22nd of 2016. We don't vote till November 4th
Yeah.
of this year for president, so we shall see. But just like that, sometimes I feel it's just electoral that votes. It doesn't matter who we vote for, but I'm still gonna be in my heart vote for who I want, like I do every time.
Right.
Well, this is Tales from Western New York signing off. This is Joe Brown, and this is Mick Flo. Peace out, people.